Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What It Takes Radio. It was one of the toughest interviews I have ever gone through, and I'm not so sure it went well, but I think I did well. But it also led us to this particular point of view. Here on What It Takes Radio, we'd love to talk with you. We'd love to hear from you. We'd really like to chat with you. But you know what? We don't want to interview you, because we don't do interviews on What It Takes Radio. And thank you very much for joining us for What It Takes Radio, and thank you, Rob Casper. He's the man behind the glass who makes all of this possible. Rob, our producer, tips his hat to you, and he does a lot of the good stuff that makes this happen, and you'll learn more about him as we begin to be there with products and services and apps to help you build your own radio station, and perhaps not only listen to this radio station, but join us on this radio station, and then do what we want to help you do: start your own radio station. We can do that, can't we, Rob? And he's shaking his head he's giving me the thumbs up because he knows that we can do just that. Well, here's my story for today. Many years ago, and those of you who heard my story on Tuesday about the 3% know that we went through a very, very difficult time. My wife yelled at me and screamed and cried and said, "This is exactly what I was hoping for when I married you 20 years ago. I was hoping that we would have no house, no car, no job, no money, broke, and a kid in college." And of course, she was being incredibly sad and sarcastic, and that led to great sadness because we had gone through, after a fairly successful life, international broadcaster, a world-class teacher in some respects. We'd done a lot of good things, and there we were. Just that. Well, we learned that we had to learn to do some new and powerful things, and that's what we tried to do, and back and forth and up and down, and things are good, and sometimes they're not so good. Life is difficult, but in all, the Spirit of the gracious God has blessed us in many ways, and what we are assigned to do now, by that Spirit and by our own inclination, is to do Internet radio on demand called What It Takes Radio. We're here to help men and women who are Spirit-led, who want to do what it takes to create their own personal economy, to live an entrepreneurial life, to walk into the marketplace with purpose, poise, and power, and be one of the 3% for whom the world kind of steps aside because they are doing good things and achieving good things and making their mark in the marketplace. And that's what we want to help you do as we do it together on What It Takes Radio. Well, here's that continued story. And by the way, you're going to hear something which you may have heard on radio and television recently. And they may have stolen it from me, but probably they just did the same thing. Here's the deal. A number of years ago, just before I experienced that moment there, I had to take it on myself while we were going through that time. One of my friends who was helping me arranged for me to be interviewed for perhaps some consulting work and perhaps even some teaching and training work in the training and development department of a major Fortune 100 company, big company in Minneapolis, St. Paul, in the state of Minnesota in the United States. And so I got all dressed up and ready to go for that. And I met 2 or 3 people, and finally I was introduced, and I was led to the director of consulting. And this guy's job was to try and find, as he said, smart people whose talents and thoughts and ideas that we can use to help us do business better, help us to be the kind of company we want to be. And so we had a pleasant conversation, and we were going through it. And then all of a sudden he stopped, and he paused, and then he looked me straight in the eye and said, "Mr. Houston, it seems like you're certainly well experienced in many things. Mr. Houston, tell me something I don't know." Yes, tell me something I don't know. Now, what would you do if that was the interview question you had? And that is the question now that I've actually seen, or the comment that I've actually seen on radio and television. Now, whether they stole it from me through the past 20 years of storytelling, I don't know and don't care. By the way, if you have a good idea, somebody else has probably had the same idea someplace, somewhere else. And if you have a good idea, you should share it. And if you have a good idea, somebody will steal it. That's just the way it is. Wow, when that question hit, I thought, I paused, and then, what is this? And I finally said, what a thoughtful and interesting question. Then I paused again and said, recently I've been thinking about. And I went on and expressed an insight, I thought, or an idea that I had been thinking about and was thinking of writing about. And he listened politely for about 3 minutes, and then he smiled and said, well done. That was good. I'll have to remember that. And he actually did, took a pen out and wrote it down. He may have stole the idea from me right there. I don't know. I didn't get the job. I didn't get a gig, but that has always struck me. Tell me something I don't know. Now, here's the deal for you. We want to have you on What It Takes Radio. But here's what we say to people. We don't want to interview you because here's something you don't want to hear. Nobody cares about you. They don't care about your book. These people listening don't know you. They haven't heard about you. They haven't heard of your book. And they probably don't care about you. However, they would love to hear something that not only they don't know, but something that would be helpful and useful to them. And so what our challenge is, we want to have people like you on the radio for a chat, for a conversation. And here is the mission. It's not about me, and it's not about you. It's about the listener. It's about the customer. The most important people in the world are the people who are listening and not the people who are talking. Tell them something they don't know. Oh, we may hear a little bit about your story. We may hear a little bit about your book. But you know what? It's not about you. And it's not about your book. And it's not about what you want to tell them. It's about what you can do to help them. And that's what we're going to be about. We want to have a whole variety of you good folks who will come on, not for an interview, but for a chat, for a conversation, for a little reflection. And what will happen is you'll share with them something that is helpful and useful, and something maybe that they're grateful for, something they hadn't thought about, something they didn't know, and now they do because of you. And they may begin to like you, care about you, say, wow. They may even start to trust you, and they may want to read about you, and they may want to go to your blog or your book or look you up because you help them improve their life, improve their knowledge, maybe even help them change their life because you reminded them of or taught them something they didn't know. Would you like to audition to not be interviewed, but to help us know something we don't know? My name is Stan. Reach me at stan@stanhouston.com, stan@stanhouston.com. And Rob has given me the wind it up sign, and that means we'd like to hear from you. You got it? stan@stanhouston.com. And simply say, Stan, here's an idea I'd like to talk about on What It Takes Radio, and let's see. In fact, if you've got a good idea, if you've got something that would be helpful and useful, let's talk about it and help people perform at their best, live lives like 3%ers because of me, because of you, and because of what we learn together on What It Takes Radio. And we do thank you. Please join us for more. This has been 10 Minutes of Clarity from What It Takes Radio. My name is Stan, and we wish you all the best and blessings. Stay tuned. Friday, we talk about what really matters. And on the weekend, thought and consideration. And we're going to do a little program called You Must Write a Book, but You Don't Want People to Like Your Book. Got that? You must write a book, but you don't want people to like your book. Join us on the weekend. Once again, you're in the right place. www.whatittakesradio.com or on the many iTunes, iHeart, SoundCloud, those wonderful Google Play platforms that thrill us with all of the world's information. And we're glad that you joined us. Again, we'll see you around. Bye for now.